whatever files are needed or whatever, you have to really reassess. That's something I certainly have learned. 20 years since the last meeting.
Fantastic bands, musical units. Well, it was a great achievement to take such a monstrously dramatic musical piece.
Picture this. Decades after the roaring thunder of Led Zeppelin shook the world, Jimmy Page steps forward with a revelation that leaves fans stunned. He opens the door to long-buried conflicts, unspoken bitterness, and truths that many suspected but never dared to say out loud. His words cut deep, not just about music, but about Robert Plant himself. For years, reunion whispers circled the band, yet Page insists it will never happen. And the reason is clear. Plant has become the symbol of every fracture, every feud, and every shadow that followed Led Zeppelin's golden years. To understand this rift, we must return to the heart of Zeppelin's empire. In the late 60s and early 70s, Plant was the golden-haired frontman, adored by millions. His stage presence was electric, his voice untouchable. But behind the curtain, tensions brewed. Page, the architect of Zeppelin's sound, often clashed with Plant's growing ego. Think of long recording sessions where the room grew thick with unspoken rivalry, Page controlling the arrangements while Plant pushed for lyrical dominance. What fans saw as chemistry was, in truth, often a war for control. Beyond the music, Plant's personal life was a storm of passion and fracture. Fame brought admirers, temptation, and endless eyes watching his every move, turning private struggles into tabloid theater. His marriage to Maureen Wilson, once steady as stone, became riddled with cracks. Rumors of affairs trailed him from hotel rooms to backstage corridors, painting a portrait of a restless man unable to stay anchored. Maureen's heartbreak clashed against his hunger for freedom, creating a drama that spilled into public view. Plant's liaisons were whispered in smoky bars and shouted in gossip columns, each one igniting jealousy and suspicion. Behind the glamour, bitterness brewed. Love turned into betrayal, devotion into resentment. These feuds were not confined to the home. They seeped into his friendships and working relationships, poisoning trust that had once seemed unbreakable. One moment he was the magnetic golden god, desired and adored. The next, he was the unfaithful husband, the reckless lover, leaving scorched earth behind him. This duality, idolized on stage, conflicted in private, created a stark contrast that haunted him everywhere. Those closest to Plant felt both the warmth of his charm and the sting of his impulsive betrayals. These fractures, far from being hidden, followed him into Zeppelin itself, twisting bonds and sowing bitterness among those who should have been allies. The very love affairs that lifted his legend also stained it, leaving scars that no spotlight could conceal.
Of the fact that I got him set up singing through one of my amplifiers through the vibrato channel, and they used playing harp as well as singing. I had a good...
Plant's conflicts did not end with his bandmates. Over the years, his sharp tongue and stubborn streak placed him at odds with other musicians. He dismissed collaborators, rejected offers, and alienated potential allies. Fellow rock stars, once eager to stand beside him, often left bruised by his pride. Even in projects beyond Zeppelin, whether solo tours or brief partnerships, Plant's clashes were notorious. Behind the charm, he carried a storm that unsettled both friends and rivals. His solo career, though filled with creativity, was shadowed by feuds. He quarreled with producers who attempted to rein in his experimental style, often abandoning projects midway when tensions boiled over. Artists who admired him from afar sometimes found themselves on the receiving end of his biting remarks once they worked with him closely. Musicians who hoped to collaborate were met with silence or rejection, as Plant guarded his independence fiercely. This aura of difficulty alienated many, and stories spread of late-night arguments, broken friendships, and tours cut short by disputes. Promoters and managers, too, were not spared. Plant developed a reputation for fiery negotiations, insisting on total control over performance details and refusing to bend to commercial pressures. These standoffs often ended in canceled shows, lawsuits, or public fallouts splashed across the rock press. His stubbornness earned him grudging respect as an uncompromising artist, but also carved a path littered with fractured alliances. Even beyond music, Plant's stormy temperament was evident. Rivalries with other frontmen, rumors of backstage fights, and his habit of scorning those who challenged him became part of his legend. While fans adored his charisma, those within the industry often spoke of him as a difficult figure, brilliant, magnetic, but carrying a volatility that unsettled anyone who dared to get too close. But Plant's troubles reached far deeper than the stage. Tragedy struck in 1977 when his young son Karak died suddenly, shattering his world. The grief consumed him, pulling his family into a spiral of sorrow. Plant struggled to balance fame with the weight of personal loss, and the wounds never fully healed. His marriage with Maureen Wilson suffered, strained not only by distance and temptation, but now by a shared grief that became unbearable. Nights on tour left him absent from home, and each absence seemed to carve another line into the fracture of their relationship. The couple eventually separated, a decision shadowed by years of tension and despair. His relationship with his other children, too, bore the marks of his absence. Constant touring meant missed birthdays, missed school milestones, and a father who appeared more as a fleeting figure than a steady presence. Rumors swirled that his children resented his dedication to the stage, while Plant wrestled with guilt behind closed doors. Fame, money, and applause could not soothe the emptiness at the dinner table or heal the quiet tears of those waiting at home. Even as the years rolled on, Plant carried Karak's memory like an invisible wound, and whispers of fractured bonds within his private life haunted his image. Publicly, he projected strength, but privately he battled loneliness, grief, and the consequences of choices made in the spotlight. Fans often wondered how the golden god of rock could look so untouchable on stage yet be so scarred behind the curtains. It was a reminder that success came at a cruel price, one that no voice, however powerful, could ever drown out. Time did not soften Plant's edges. From bitter disputes over Zeppelin's legacy to quarrels about royalties and creative direction, Plant became known as the barrier to any reunion. Page, Jones, and Bonham's memory carried the weight of the past, but Plant often dismissed nostalgia, insisting he had moved on. To fans, it felt like betrayal. Add to that whispers of arrogance, cold rejections of reunion offers, and the refusal to compromise. Plant became the villain in the saga of Zeppelin's silence. Scandals about broken promises and his relentless pursuit of independence only deepened the divide. The list of controversies surrounding Plant's stubborn streak seemed endless. He rejected high-profile reunion opportunities, sometimes in dramatic fashion, walking away from negotiations at the very last moment. Behind closed doors, there were clashes over royalties, where Plant refused to concede even the smallest details. Legal threats and tense meetings became the silent soundtrack of Zeppelin's later years. Each attempt at reconciliation ended with bitterness, leaving Page and Jones frustrated and powerless. Outside the Zeppelin circle, Plant's behavior drew criticism as well. He clashed with promoters over set lists, refused to share stages with artists he considered beneath him, and demanded conditions that many considered unreasonable. In the industry, his name became associated with pride and difficulty, earning him a reputation as both a genius and a barrier to collaboration. For many, his refusal to compromise overshadowed his artistry. Scandals also erupted over Plant's tendency to distance himself from Zeppelin's image. While fans begged for nostalgia, he publicly dismissed the very songs that made him famous, calling them relics of the past. This rejection felt like an insult to those who had followed him for decades. His solo career, though successful, was often marred by accusations that he abandoned his legacy, leaving audiences confused and disillusioned. All of these conflicts painted a darker portrait of Plant. His relentless pursuit of independence, his insistence on control, and his refusal to bend became symbols of broken promises. To some, he was a visionary standing against the weight of the past. To others, he was the man who single-handedly kept the door to Led Zeppelin's rebirth permanently locked. And now, with Page finally breaking his silence, the truth settles like a heavy curtain. Led Zeppelin will never reunite, not because of time, not because of age, but because of Robert Plant himself. His conflicts, feuds, scandals, and personal struggles have left scars too deep to heal. For fans, it is the end of a dream, but also a revelation of the fragile humanity behind the myth. The story of Led Zeppelin closes not with a triumphant encore, but with a bitter confession, reminding us that even legends can be undone by their own storms. Think of the countless nights when fans filled arenas, praying for just one more reunion. Each time, Plant turned away, leaving Page and Jones carrying the weight of expectation alone. His refusals did not come with softness, but with a sharpness that often stung those who had once shared the stage with him. In Page's eyes, the betrayal was not just professional, it was personal, a wound that cut across decades of shared triumphs and tragedies. The bitterness goes further still. Plant's stubbornness became a wall not only between him and his bandmates, but also between him and the millions who adored him. Where others saw opportunity for celebration, he saw chains that threatened his independence. His image as a free spirit came at the cost of breaking bonds, leaving Led Zeppelin's story forever unfinished. As the years rolled on, the legend of Zeppelin became a myth encased in silence. Page's revelation